Welcome to the Event Studio. Today I want to show you how to create this easy organic balloon wall. Each section of this wall is made up of 4 quads. Now to make a quad, I'm going to inflate 2 11-inch balloons at the same time to anywhere between 6 and 10 inches in diameter. Then I'm going to tie them together into a pair by wrapping the nozzles around twice and tying them together in a simple knot. I'm going to repeat this step so I've got 2 pairs of the same color and then overlap the 2 of them so that the nozzles touch right in the center and twist 1 balloon from each of those pairs around each other, and that will lock it into a quad. Make 3 quads just like this and then make a 4th quad in the same color but include a 17-inch balloon into this quad. The combination of 1 17-inch quad and 3 11-inch quads will make up one section of our wall. To tie all the quads together, I'm using these empty 260 modeling balloons and stretching all the air out of them and then tying the nozzle in a knot so we don't get any little air bubbles caught in these 260s as we tie the balloons together. Now take the end of your 260 and tie it to one of the nozzles of our first quad. I'm then going to place a second quad of the same color right on top of the first one, pull that 260 up through the center, and then wrap it in a figure 8 pattern around 2 balloons of this new quad, always making sure 1 balloon of the new quad is sitting between 2 balloons of the quad below it. On top of this, I'm going to add the 17-inch quad. Now I'd like to place this quad somewhere near the center of each color section. That way it can really be the focal point of each color. Finally, I'm going to round out this section by tying on the 4th quad in the exact same way, and this makes up our first color section. Now there's still quite a lot of 260 balloon on the end of this, so I'm going to add a second color section right next to this first one, creating a garland of 8 quads. Now once you get to adding your second 17-inch balloon, you want to make sure both 17-inch balloons are facing the same direction, because we want these to come out of the front of the garland and not be wasted on the sides, where it may interfere with the garland sitting right next to it. After securing the last quad in place, take the remaining 260 tail and tie it to one of the nozzles of the balloon in that final quad. This will secure all the quads into one large garland that we can use to create our wall. The wall I'm making today is 6 feet tall by about 6 feet wide, which means I need 4 garlands standing upright and 1 garland across the top. But I need to add a 3rd color section to the one that goes across the top so it's long enough to go corner to corner. Once I've got all 5 garlands created, we then need a stand to build our wall on top of. I'm using this adjustable stand from eFavorMart, which I'll have linked below if you'd like to use it as well. Now, starting on the side poles, I'm going to take one of my garlands and slip the balloons of that garland around the side poles so the poles are touching the nozzles of each quad. Now this is an adjustable backdrop, which means I've got these turning handles that I have to be careful as I pull my balloons around so they don't accidentally get caught and pop a balloon. Once the entire length of the garland is attached to the side pole, I'm going to do the exact same thing on the opposite side and then place 2 of my garlands right in the center, making sure I'm paying attention to the placement of each color so I don't accidentally create one large section of a singular color on my wall. I set up my backdrop stand a little wide so it'd be easier to get the garlands into the center, but now it's time to close that gap. So I'm going to push the side poles together until each of my balloon garlands are touching each other. I'm then going to secure all the garlands into a singular piece by tying a 260 balloon to the garland on the left side, stretching that 260 nice and taut on the back side of the wall, and wrapping it around a balloon or 2 of the garland right next to it. This will cinch the 2 garlands close together and help prevent some gaps from forming. I'm going to keep doing this until I get all the way across the wall. Now your 260 may not quite be long enough to stretch the whole width of the wall, so you can either stop partway through the wall or tie an extra 260 onto the one you're currently using so it's got enough length to stretch. I did this across the bottom as well as the top of all 4 of my vertical garlands. Now I can crown this wall with my large horizontal piece that I'm just going to slip right on top of that horizontal pole of my backdrop stand, just like we attached the garlands to the side poles. Now we can embellish our wall and fill in any holes there might be that you can see through. I've inflated some extra 17-inch balloons and tied a 260 to each of their nozzles, and I can just add these anywhere on the wall where it looks like I need to hide a hole or add a little bit more wow factor. Once you've decided on a location, stretch the 260 tight and wrap it in a figure 8 pattern around a couple of the balloons in the wall, and that'll hold the 17-incher in place. To add a bit more texture to the wall, I'm going to inflate 8 5-inch balloons to 4 pumps of air with my hand pump, or about 4.5 inches in diameter. Tie these balloons into pairs, then into quads, that we can join together into these mini clusters. To make a cluster, take 2 quads of the same color and tie them together with an empty 260 balloon that you cut in half. An easy way to tie these is to pinch the end of your 260 against the nozzles of the quad, stretch it tight, and wrap it in a figure 8 pattern a couple times around the balloons of that quad, and that will hold it in place. You can also tie the 260 to one of the nozzles of that quad, and that would work just as well. I made a couple of these mini clusters in each of my 4 colors that I then tied onto my wall. Place the mini clusters anywhere you might still have holes you can see through, or you need a bit more texture. Stretch the 260 tight and wrap it behind a balloon that's already attached to the wall. The important thing here is to make sure that 260 balloon is hidden from sight, and then you can just play with the placement of those mini clusters until you're happy with where they're sitting. If you keep the 2 tiny quads right next to each other, it gives you a large section with lots of texture, or you can spread the tiny quads apart from each other and give yourself these small spots of interest over a wider area. And now this organic balloon wall is ready for a party or celebration. If you enjoyed today's video, you should check out this one. Until the next time, remember, stay creative everybody!